one of the things that I try to do when I talk about the RAVs, the risk assessment values, which is what they used to be called. The idea here is that it's just counting, right? So you're counting the number of interactions that are happening, you're counting the amount of controls per interaction, and then on top of that, you're counting the limitations of those controls, meaning uh, where do they have weaknesses? Where are they going to fail? Where are their concerns in those controls? Like where are the gaps in those? So, for example, you could have a firewall, and in that sense, as a control, and we say, okay, that control maps back to the things we map it to, like authentication, segregation, these kinds of things. And when we look at this and we say, okay, we're counting this as a control, or actually a firewall itself might be up to 3 to 5 different types of controls, but we count these things and we say, okay, this protects these interactions. So we can map them back and forth. And then when we do that, we can also look and say, okay, but what is it not doing? What is it, where is it not helping these interactions? So for example, you might say, okay, it's not providing non-repudiation. So now we have no logs here. We have no guarantee that this is what happened when it happened. So of course, I mean, we all know that trying to figure out who somebody is on the internet, who an attacker is, that kind of thing, this kind of attribution is more miss than hit anyways. Why do you want non-repudiation? Well, it's because you want to know when it happened, where it happened. You know, it's like when people say, "Oh, we got robbed, but they had masks, so the cameras are no good." No, they're not no good. They let you know how many people were there, where they went, what they touched, how maybe they got in, and what they visited, what they walked away with. Because now you can look and see, and you're not going crazy wondering. So actually, it's kind of funny because back in my days of working for ATSDR and CDC, when they would send me out into the field, I remember one night, and this sort of made me start thinking in these terms. So one night I'm in a crappy motel because that's where the government put us, and I think it was like even under a highway or something, there's like a highway overhead or whatever, and it was very loud. And so I was young, so I was young and dumb. I was like 23, 24. And I went to bed, locked up, went to bed. I woke up in the morning and my door was a little bit open. And I went nuts trying to figure out if they stole anything. And if so, what? Trying to remember what it was. If somebody came in, maybe it was a flaw of the door. Till this day, I don't know. But a camera, even if they wore a mask, even if I couldn't have identified the person, probably would have helped me keep my sanity for a while. Because after that, I was just, putting desk in front of the door and extra chains, and I bought door stoppers to put in behind because obviously I got super paranoid. But this is that idea, right? With what we're doing, we're counting, we're looking at the gaps, and we want to know that these controls are there. Controls even like non-repudiation, where you say, okay, what good is it if we can't go after the Russian, Chinese, North Korean attacker or whatever, because they're not on our soil or they're too hard to reach? It's because that way you know where they went and what they did. And you can do this kind of stuff. So that's the whole idea, is you take the controls and you map them to each interaction point so that you know what's actually happening and what's being protected and how it's being protected. So really, in the end, what you're measuring and what we're calculating from is just counting. So we're counting these things. There's no magic behind it, really, in that sense. We're counting them. I guess the magic is in how we calculate and compare it, categorize it, that kind of thing. But the actual measuring is just counting. It's like putting a ruler to something, or many types of rulers, so to speak. And
making sure that your ruler is accurate.
Yes, exactly.
Can you put that into the context of a company's risk assessment? Because as we know, some people claim that they do quantified risk, which we also know they're dealing in the alchemy stage of technology, not digital age of technology.
So that's a really good point. So there's a lot of this whole wishy-washiness, this fuzzy metrics that they do because they handle it in an analog way, right? Like you just said, they're not in the digital age of zeros and ones, in the sense that this is fact, this is not fact, this is what we have. And since these kinds of risk metrics, risk on its own is fuzzy as it is compared to something like attack surface, right? So an attack surface is a fact. This is what's open, this is what will be open. Whereas with risk, it's what might happen if this is open? What might they be able to do? Are they able to do that today? It's very fuzzy. You're guessing. You're coming up with assumptions. You're doing. Well, we have fancy terms for it, like threat analysis and conflict analysis and all this kind of stuff. But that's fuzzy in itself. So if we look at it from a company point of view, and we say, okay, what would our attack surface metrics, our RAVs, do differently, is because you get this solid binary, right? Is it a fact or is it not? Is this going to protect you or will it not? And if it doesn't, where does it fail? There's an exactness to this that isn't sort of well, do this and we'll see how it goes.
Right.
That's probably the worst part of it, because imagine your doctor or your dentist said that. Well, try this and we'll see how it goes, which they do, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you get into sort of these fuzzy unknowns of complicated systems, complicated like a body, like a human body, and that doesn't feel good, and that doesn't help you choose a direction of where you want to go with this. So if a company wants to do this, and they absolutely should, is they should do these counts, find out what they have, how they work, what they're doing for you. And I mean, it's so much better than what is it? They use traffic lights, right? Of red, yellow, green, and
Yeah.
1 to 10, sort of, this is where you're at, where they're putting a finger to the wind and finding which way the wind blows. Sure, great. If I was sailing a boat, I would do that as well, but I wouldn't do that to know how much water my boat can keep out or can hold before it sinks, or how much safety equipment I need to have on board. I don't want my engineers to do that. That's for sailing the ship when you're dealing with real chaos. If you don't have to deal with that chaos because you have something solid in front of you, then just do that.
Now, you had talked about the risk being fuzzy, and what ifs. Would you say that the new entropy part of the Austin 4 helps address some of that? Address the what ifs because of the decay in control usage and advancing technology?
So that's the funny thing about Austin 4, right? Is it didn't come out because we were really working on trying to figure out where the origins of security were. How did they start? And of course, most of my life, we thought that they were a human invented thing, that we came up with the idea of security and how to be secure. And most of it, we were just making it up as we went along, trying to borrow from the idea of physical security from what we knew into other paradigms. And after 25 years of research, finding out that it does more than parallel more than parallels quantum information theory in how quantum waves operate and quantum information operates and what it does and how it survives in a hostile, chaotic universe. And seeing that these are the same things that get deployed at the fundamental level of the universe and propagates through everything, to let us know that, hey, okay, now we can see this and we say, okay, this is the same security the universe uses, and these are the same controls, and these are the same way. Obviously, we have to move it over to Newtonian physics where we live. We don't live in a quantum physics world. But That would be crazy. But in that sense, we do the same things, and this makes things very not fuzzy, right? Because we know exactly what we're looking at. We know why. We know where it came from. And we're not just, it's not just a best practice where somebody's like, oh, this might be a good idea. I did this once and it worked. And I think, I mean, if that's what you're into, the check out the movie Home Alone. Home Alone was all about something that this kid tried and it worked, but
Right.
you wouldn't base your home defense system on it,